Hello and welcome to this episode of The Elevated Soul. I'm your host, Sam Burnett, and with me I have one of my dear friends, David Smith. David and I met in college at Weaver State. What do you say, 2014, 2013?
Yep.
Somewhere
Um,
around that.
2013. Yeah.
And yeah, we met at the school gym and we both started working there around you were working there before I was, I remember. And I came on shortly after. And yeah, we just hit it off right away. We're both like the same height, just big dudes. And I don't know, we were just kind of drawn to each other and a lot of similarities. You felt like an old brother of mine. And yeah, so it was only natural that we went to massage school together. If I remember correctly, after I had my first massage, I knew I was like, oh, this is something I'm supposed to do. And then maybe a month or so later, I was in California with some of my friends, and we were driving back from Yosemite National Park. And I had called you and was like, hey, I think I'm really going to do massage school. And you're like, me too. And I was like, let's go. And yeah, shortly after that, we were enrolled for that next fall. I think it was fall of 2015, August 3rd, 2015. I want to say was the day we started. I don't know why I remember that. And then the rest has been history. We're over 10 years in the game now and both still working as massage therapists. And yeah, I guess for this episode, I would love to speak to things that are both informative but also just kind of insightful, um, like into the methods that we use. Maybe we could debunk some, I don't know, maybe common misconceptions that we've noticed people hold over the years, and maybe even talk about like the evolution of our work and what we've seen and what we've kind of grown into. Because I know, at least for me, where I started is very different from where I am today, and it's all good. Um, yeah. So, is there anything else you'd like to throw out there about yourself, or
I think one thing that is worth mentioning, we met at the gym and
yeah,
we were both, I think, heavily influenced by our boss there at the time.
yeah,
I think that's really what started a shift in me as far as what I thought I could do with my life.
mm,
Because here I am going to college for the first time, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed. Here's the world. Who am I going to be? And what am I going to do? And meeting this guy, um, even just in the interview, I remember leaving the interview in tears
yeah,
because of questions. Like he was the nicest guy. He is the nicest guy. But he'd asked me what I'm afraid of. And I was like, what is happening right now?
yeah.
Like, what are these feelings in my body? Like, why am I shaking? Why can't I talk normally?
Mm,
And that was shocking to me that an individual could just through heartfelt connection and communication get such a visceral response from me, who had been such a strong and stoic individual in my own estimation. That was my goal, right? I wanted to be big. I wanted to be intimidating. I wanted to give off the masculine alpha kind of vibe.
mhm.
And here's this guy. He's like a smaller guy, and not intimidating to sit in front of. And then just this eye contact, just hey, what's going on? What are you about? And it's like he's looking at my soul right now. And that was like the first time I had an experience like that where I felt like somebody is seeing past the story that I'm giving. And I
Mm,
think that was one of the first lessons for me in like how powerful presence can be.
mm,
And so when we talked about massage school and potentially branching out from our fitness careers into something a little more personal, a little more intimate, I was like, yeah, I think that's honestly like where the power is being one-on-one with people, and just in an environment that's more conducive to sharing, whether that's with words or through body language, or as we would come to learn, the energy in the room.
Mm,
Um, and I think that's kind of what started me on this different path, was just an openness to this different kind of influence on people, not the intimidation influence or the respect that I was looking for in that sense of it, right? But
mm,
something a little more healing focused or real, just not even healing focused, but just like authentic, grounded. Like, what is it like to actually sit across from another person and ask them how they're doing? And it's not just a nice thing, but it's an
mm.
actual bid for, let's find the common ground of our humanity in this moment and see where that takes us. And so that was way more interesting to me than anything else I was doing in college. I mean, I was studying automotive tech, and then English, and then nutrition, and then here comes Sam, and he's like, I'm gonna go check out massage school. And I'm like, after that crazy interview I had, there's a thread here that
Yeah.
feels scary to me, like a scary amount of intimacy and confidence that I'm gonna have to grow into to work with people in that way. I'm like, let's check it out. So grateful to you for showing up in that moment at that time that I was ready to hear it. And yeah, like you said, here we are now, and it has been a trip.
Yeah. 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 I'm glad you mentioned him. Because that definitely was the pipeline that got me. He was the second call, I would say, of someone who met me in that way. Prior to him, my first summer back from school, so that would have been 2013. So right before I came back and probably met you, my parents caught me high on cannabis for the first time, and yeah, I thought I was going to be screwed. I thought my life was over. Oh, they're going to throw the hammer down on me. But instead, they took me to a woman that they went to for couples therapy, and she was totally just a female version of Jans, like old soul. And she was, I mean, maybe in her like 60s at that point, and she was like a traditional like family therapist. But she also, her office like had drums and feathers and you know things from all different continents, and you could tell she was a medicine woman, um, undercover. Similar to our boss. I think he referred to
Urban,
himself the
the
urban
urban
shaman, right?
shaman.
And instead of me, getting blasted by the hammer, I had a woman sit there and facilitate a conversation between my parents and I, where she could see right through me. She could see through every wall that I had carefully constructed to hide my inner world. And it was all through presence. And within 5 minutes, I'm in full tears, just broken down. And I'm like, holy cow, someone sees me, like really sees me. And that was the first time I'd really experienced that. And then, I went through some more life and then kind of built some armor up again. And then, yeah, we're interviewing to be a functional fitness consultant, which, was like a glorified machine cleaner and just making sure people weren't killing themselves on the floor in the gym. And he's asking questions like, what do you think your soul agreed to before you came here? What is a dream that you don't even dare to dream? Like things like that, and you're just like, what is going on? I'm signing up to clean machines, and you're asking me these questions no one's ever asked me. Yeah, uh, totally changed my life just from the presence, like you said. And so, yeah, when I had my first massage, it was like experiencing that through the body, where I was like, whoa. And the person who gave me my first massage wasn't even particularly that present, but it was still just such an intimate experience that, uh, yeah, something I didn't know I really needed, but I needed it. And I was at the time going into exercise and sport science and nutrition education, and that was very, by the book. And there was some like comfortability in that. But massage school just felt more, it almost felt more tangible to me because it was working with the hands. So literally kinesthetic, right?
Yeah.
Um, but there was a level of freedom to it where it felt like you really got to be yourself and show up as yourself. And that was what initially really drew me to that. Hmm. Well, we're already diving into presence, and that was definitely a peak that I wanted to hit in here. Because I mean, I have had, just as I'm sure you have, we've had hundreds and hundreds of massages, received hundreds of massages by now. We received hundreds in school, and I know you have taught massage, you have worked at the student clinics, um, so you've received a lot of massages from students or professionals. What do you think? I don't think, what do you think isn't the right way to say this? How big of a percentage would you say does presence play in the outcome of a massage? Like, can you be totally distracted and still do good work? Or is that really like a key to excelling in this field?
It's a good question because the interpretation of what presence means might be different kind of
Mm,
across the board. Like you and I might have a similar definition of presence and what that means to be in a space with somebody and, you know, feeling tissue and tissue quality, but also feeling your emotions, feeling perhaps suggestions, intuiting what they might be feeling, or, how your nervous system is interpreting the ebb and flow of their nervous system activity.
mm,
Um, that might be something that we can connect to. But for like a new student, it might be as simple as just, are you feeling this person's calf muscle right now? Or are you
mm,
thinking about how should I be touching this person's calf muscle right now? It's like Alan
mm,
Watts, like you can't listen to the sound of the waves and think about the sound of the waves at the same time. Like our brain is not complex enough with our attention to focus on both. So where is your focus? Um, and to draw from the urban shaman, energy flows where attention goes. So if
mhm,
you're caught in your head thinking about what you should be doing, or you're assessing, if you're going through the diagnostics and, what's indicated by this condition, what's this range tell me about this tissue, there's a place for that. But once you're actually making contact, then there's this opportunity to shift into a deeper awareness or a deeper presence. And I think that's what
mm,
makes all the difference is developing that skill to kind of walk between worlds. Um,
mm,
because I think both of us started in school with like exercise science as a background and foundation, and also strengthened by school and our instructors in school for the most part, to just focus on that, focus on the tangible, on the objective, and just look for measurable results. And that's how you
mhm.
can confirm that you're doing a successful session, right? And their
Right.
their personal subjective feelings, the client's feelings, were sort of secondary. But if your assessment and your treatment were good enough, then their subjective feelings would reflect that you did a good job because they're going to feel better. Because, hey, if
Right.
this calf moves better and there's less tension, then they're going to notice that if they're somewhat connected to their body, right? They have to be. They came in
Right.
knowing they had a physical issue.
Right.
Um, so there's that level of presence. Um, and I think that's, yeah, I guess hard to really speak to what everybody feels presence means, because I think
Right.
everybody develops some sort of way uh, to kind of balance both perspectives. Like, what am I? This word we'll have to dive into intuition. What is my intuition
Mm,
communicating to me in this moment? And then what do I actually feel with my hands? What can I see with my eyes? What can I hear in their breathing? These kind of more like physical data points. It's like how can I balance both of these and remain fully present with this person. So, yeah, what do you
Hmm.
think about that?
Yeah, I think you explained it really well. Because I did have a question that feels irrelevant now, but it was, is presence more important than technique? And I think it's that trade-off where in the beginning, yeah, you're really focused on like the outcome for the client. I think that was a big thing that kind of got in the way of me being fully present in the beginning, is almost worrying about, well, I really want to do a good job. I want them to have a good experience, and I want them to leave feeling happy with what they received. Um, and then certainly when you're learning the techniques, you're thinking about it from a very like A, B, and C, got to do three of these, four of those, five of those, and then we've made it through the leg. And there comes a time where it's like, okay, that shifts into the background and you're not mentally having to process what you're doing. And then your presence deepens because you're able to put more of your conscious awareness to just what you're feeling or noticing. So I think there's layers to it, like you said, and it depends on the session and the desired outcome. Because I certainly still do have clients who come in and they request, deep tissue sports massage, and they want to talk through the whole thing. And, uh, maybe they are able to actually receive deeper pressure, sometimes not. And I find that maybe they think they need it, but they don't necessarily need it. And maybe that is where deeper presence in their body would allow for a better release. But I think what I've come to experience with the presence is that that kind of is the key to helping someone facilitate healing, because we all kind of walk around with aches and pains just from being human, right? You sit in the car too long, like you're going to have some stiffness. You sleep weird, whatever. You work at a desk all day. It's just how the body adapts to this modern world. We get some tension or discomforts. And oftentimes, I mean, not oftentimes, the body is super good at contorting or shifting or compensating to avoid the pain so that you can make it through your day. And I think that oftentimes with people, all they need is to just suddenly become aware of like, oh yeah, that is really tight there. And then the body can kind of let go or be more present with it. Or they don't even realize how much they're holding a certain area as compared to other parts of the body. And I think that all that's required to guide someone through that is to just be present yourself. And I guess I can give some examples of where I've seen a lack of presence affect a massage. Uh, Working at a spa, we do a lot of couples massages, and I've worked with many people over the years. And I do recall working at one spa where this one particular employee, every couples massage would always have headphones in, and they would be listening to like true crime podcast or books on tape while they were doing the massage. And I remember thinking like, wow, that feels very absurd. I can't believe this person's doing that. Um, and I just couldn't help it. I mean, I'm sure you're the same way, like when you're doing a couples massage where you kind of just watch the other person, because it's like we don't really get to watch other massage therapists while you're working because it's just you and the client, right? But in a couples session, you're like, ooh, I wonder what they're doing. Ooh, that's a cool technique, like
Exactly. Yeah.
that's just how we learned, right? And I just noticed like you could almost feel the lack of awareness on their part, where they're just kind of like going through the motions, doing the thing, and it felt very recipe, oh, we're just gonna go through this. All right, now turn over. And I remember when it really struck me that this person was very much not being present with their client was, after we had done a session, their person was particularly talkative. My person was very quiet. And we get back into the break room, we're, washing up afterwards, and they're just like, man, don't you just hate it when a client is just wants to talk? And I'm like, I'm like, no, actually, I don't. Um, but I just, inquired and I was like, why? And then they're like, well, I'm like listening to my podcast and I have to like keep like pausing it and starting it and pausing and starting when they want to talk. And I'm like, oh, that must be really inconvenient for you.
So they're getting in the way of your entertainment hour. I see.
Right, right. And I don't know, that idea never crossed my mind to like have my consciousness split to like listening to something else other than whatever spa music was playing.
Hmm.
And and I feel like that is palpable even subconsciously by the person on the table. So I guess over the years, once I kind of got out of my own way and stopped worrying about, am I doing a good job? Do I remember the techniques? Like once the flow is in just in the cellular memory, then I feel like the real work began of like how present can I be? Like even to where like in transcendental meditation, right? You have like a phrase, a mantra, a word, whatever, and anytime your mind distracts, you come back to that. And I kind of treated massage that way too. If my mind was thinking about what I was going to do later, I'd be like, back to the tissue. What am I feeling? What am I sensing? And it just became a form of meditation for me.
Hmm.
And I definitely felt this with you, even when we were in massage school, where it's like no one else that we traded with in school could I feel that level of like, wow, they are in there. Like your consciousness is in my tissue more than just the hands there. And I know I had that reflected to me many times when I first started actually massaging out in the wild uh, after we got licensed, right? Where people are like, "What was that?" Like, or they'd say like, "What kind of energy work were you doing while you were doing massage?" And I'd be like, "I don't know. What do you mean?" And I think it was just the level of presence.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I was gonna say you reminded me of um I think with couples massages in particular, it can feel more difficult because we as body workers are naturally, I think, attracted to um watching other practitioners because of the way that at least our particular breed of body workers views the profession. Um, and I think that is really a determining factor in how you're going to approach the work and how present you're going to be able to be. Because if you think it's just a job and just a service, or if you are just outcome oriented as far as like we were talking about earlier, like I just need to make them happy. I just need to make them
Hmm.
feel good. I just need to satisfy the customer. That's going to lead to resenting the job, I think, eventually. Um,
Yeah.
and then you get those situations where people will have to distract themselves from the labor because it is manual. I mean, if you break down what we're doing, it's like the most manual labor a person can do. It's like, yeah, what's your workday? Well, I just exert myself for, 6 hours a day, whatever. Some people more if they're in a spa, it might be eight, you
Yeah.
know. Um, yeah, I'm just bent over all day, just, squeezing my muscles on another person. Yeah.
Yep.
And you don't really get to, see something. It's not like you're cooking, and you get to see a meal at the end. It's like this person is it's a person at the end of it. They're not going to
Right.
look
Right.
altogether different. You're hoping for that one confirmation, that validation that you did a good job, that your effort was not wasted here, that you get some sort of gratification. Um,
Mm.
in the age of distraction that we're in now, we all crave that instant gratification. So it's easy to kind of slip into that pattern of how can I just make this person feel good to convince me that I did a good job so that today has some significance to me.
Mm.
Um, and I think that's one path that's easy to fall into, especially if you're a people pleaser, which massage school, I think, does a pretty good job about kind of weeding out the people that are, or at least talking to and speaking to that phenomenon that, like, hey, many people are drawn to this work because they think that they are um, supposed to be healers or people pleasers or, whatever. And
Hmm.
it's kind of like we gotta, like, that might be true. You might be a healer. There might be, some soul contract that you're honoring without knowing it. But if you're going in with that hubris thinking it's all me, then I think that's what leads to the burnout, because it's always
Yeah.
you and there's an endless, bottomless pit of need in the world. And it
Right.
does not diminish no matter how much work you do. So then it can weigh on you. The burden after a couple of years, it's usually like 2 or 3 years is the average, career span of a new therapist. And I think it's those people that are just focused so much on getting the validation from others, that
Hmm.
fall into that pattern where they might have to start listening to true crime because that's more interesting or entertaining for their attention than this living being in front of them who's, bidding for this connection. Um, I think that's one mindset. And then there's this other, which is that body work is more of an art form. And it's
Mm.
like music, like an artist that goes up to play a live show, they're not there solely to entertain the people, right? True artists are there to express what they've created. And you like it or
Mm.
you don't. And it's not going to appeal to everybody. Can't make everybody like jazz.
Right.
And that's how, if I'm talking to students, um, or new body workers that are looking for some sort of guidance, I'm like, hey, what you do is your own brand. Like you came out this way and you have the stuff that you have to offer. You have your style, your pace. That's your thing. And instead of trying to draw in every single person that you can because of this scarcity mindset of I need to make it in this
Mm.
career, it's finding that balance of, can I just attract the people that I want to work with, people that
Mm.
like the work that I do or respond to the work that I do. And it might not fit for everybody. But
Mm.
I think of couples massages because it can feel sometimes like the environment isn't conducive to the deepest levels of healing, right? Because you have this distraction, you have this other person. Sometimes the partner is focused on their partner. Um, and it can feel like this isn't as individual of an experience. It's more of this group experience, and that can
Yeah.
be, it's just a more dynamic situation for our attention and focus. But I remember not too long ago working in a barn with you offering massage,
Yes.
and we have like hillbilly rock and roll playing and bluegrass, from
Yeah.
six different stages all around us, and there's 15 therapists or whatever it is in our
Yep.
barn, our massage barn. And here's Sam doing cranial sacral on somebody. And they're
Yeah.
like damn near moved to tears by the amount of presence and focus that you're able to offer, despite the most hectic,
Yeah.
humid, hot, and like distraction heavy environment imaginable, right?
Right.
And I'm, 3 feet away from you doing like the most intense sports massage on somebody that's never had body work in their life.
Right.
And I think that it's just a testament to uh, the skill of presence and being able
Hmm.
to develop that. But if you have an interest in developing it or not, I think comes down to how you view your role in the healing process. Because if you
Mm.
are the healer, then you're going to focus so much on what they're getting out of it. Versus if you are
Right.
a vessel for this energy that moves through us,
Right.
then it's going to be whatever happens here. Like I'm going to follow intuition. I'm going to use the backbone of my scientific process and understanding of anatomy and physiology, kinesiology. Like I have that as kind of my baseline for where to look and maybe to investigate certain things, but and to avoid doing harm as well, right? And
Right.
you mentioned deep tissue and deep pressure often confused with many people, um, because really deep tissue in our understanding is just deeper than the superficial layer of musculature
Right.
or structures, right?
Right.
So if you are an informed therapist, then you understand, yeah, you can move a muscle, a superficial muscle, and contact the next layer underneath that. You are now doing deep tissue.
Right.
And this might be 15 grams of pressure.
Right.
does
Right.
not mean, that you have to compress every layer of tissue to get there. And I think that's often what's confused. And maybe there's a reason for that because people feel that, it's in the gym context, no pain, no gain, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
That healing must be difficult. There's a belief system in there that this has to be difficult. It has to be strenuous for me to get through it because many things feel like that in life, right?
Right. Oh, I'm glad you brought that up. Oh, there's so many nuggets in there. Um, yeah, the massage barn. What a wild experience that was. Deep in Kansas, like you said, multiple stages all around. I mean, we even had like food trucks around us too. So you'd be like in a massage, and then there's like funnel cake coming through and burgers, and you're just like, what? Where are we, dude? Um, but yeah, we both were
Thunderstorms,
thunderstorms, and
hurricanes, tornadoes,
dude, that was
all of
crazy.
it at once.
That was one of the wildest places I've ever done massage, but very fun. Um, yeah, I'm glad you brought up the deep tissue thing. I've certainly noticed there is a context of deep tissue that is traditional at spas, I feel, where it's like the people that come for deep tissue at a spa expect it to be a lot of pressure, and they don't necessarily understand, and this is no fault of their own. Like to the layperson, they don't understand how many layers of muscle there are in certain parts of their body, right? And so they may not understand that you are doing deep tissue, but there's only two layers there, or in the back, like in your low back, right? There's like 8 layers or something, and it's like I'm not going to go to layer 8 right away. Um,
Mm.
we gotta get through the other layers first. But people just don't know what they don't know. And then I seem to remember some conversation in school where one of our teachers was just mentioning that, yeah, you'll get some people that are kind of like addicted to their deep tissue massages and they want it to hurt because they're getting a little bit of an endorphin release when you're literally doing a little, micro trauma to the muscle. But it is just more the belief of no pain, no gain, healing is hard, or it takes work, and they want to feel like something is happening. And I think what I've come to realize over the years is that that can translate to, oh, this person may not be very present in their physical body. And it takes more pressure for them to bring their conscious awareness to that space. Whereas I do have some clients who come in and, I could be 5 grams of pressure right there, and they're experiencing a whole wild journey of like, whoa, I'm connecting to this thing. It feels like there's a belt around my liver and it's like constricting, and it's like, whoa, very cool. So I think there's always going to be a spectrum of how aware is this person in their own body, and then what belief system are they coming in with? And then, like you said, for the therapist, what belief system are you operating on? Because, yeah, if you're operating as the healer, then this person is coming in, they need to be fixed. They're kind of a victim, so to speak, a victim of circumstance. And then you have to be the savior, and you have to do the work, and you have to generate it from your cup versus being, just the guide who is letting that energy or that awareness or consciousness or whatever we're pulling from work through you. Kind of frees you up to not have to be responsible for their outcome, because then it invites them into the participation of like, we're just tuning forks. Can you match my presence and awareness that I'm holding in your body right now? Like, can you match that in your own body? And then that takes us a layer deeper. And it's like, oh, yeah, I am noticing this tension here. And it's like, great. Now let's breathe into it, right? That's the common cue. Let's send a breath here. Can
Mm.
you, can you breathe into this space? And that doesn't necessarily mean like you have to send a actual physical breath there, but it's more of just a cue to bring someone's awareness to that space. Uh, oh, I just totally lost my train of thought.
No, exactly though. I mean, we are there to guide attention. Like that's
Yeah,
really, I think, my current interpretation of my role. Because at the end of the day, I am not physically altering their structures in their body, right? It's like their
right.
body. is actually doing that. Even if I'm doing myofascial work, it's like what I'm able to actually do based on, what I kind of fall back on in the scientific literature as it pertains to body work. It's like, yeah, I can influence the interstitial fluid and the cytoplasm of cells. I can influence the cellular environment to adapt over time. But this
Mm-hmm.
has to be a consistent input and, takes follow-up exercise and, corrective things if we're going to change somebody's movement pattern or their posture or whatever.
Right.
Looking at it from that scientific basis, it's like the amount of pressure is determined by what we think we're affecting, and
Mm. Right.
if it's their psychology, then it's going to be as deep as they can handle, right?
Right.
Or what they want. That's what they think they need is I need something that's pushing me to my edge of comfort to make a difference. Versus if you have kind of our background in the physiology, it's like the requisite pressure here is just enough to influence the cellular environment to recognize that adaptation is preferable to handle
Mm.
this load, to handle this stress, and that's not much from what research currently shows. It's like the difference between a couple pounds of pressure and 10 to 50 to 100, the nervous system has a threshold for that's a lot and it's not very high. It's like
Right.
once it feels the stress, it has felt the stress, the adaptation, the fibroblasts are awake, things are happening.
Right.
More pressure does not improve the rate at which that change might happen. But ultimately, again, we're just guiding the body to do what it naturally does in response to stress or to load. And so
Mm.
our role is not to tear their connective tissue or scars, to restore movement. It's very popular and it's, hot headlines to put on Instagram that I can fix your stuff or whatever, fix your pain, like it's
Right.
the
Right.
problem. Like you said, they come in and this is a problem to be solved. And, the outcome focused therapist is like, all right, how do I solve this problem?
Mm.
Versus the intuitive, more connected present therapist is like, how do I encourage their attention to rest in this area and discover the layers and the kind of the fine tune the attention.
Mm.
How can I get them to actually feel what's happening in their body?
Right.
And like you said, some people seems like they need a lot, but I think again that comes down to what are you inviting? Because if we go back to our interview with Jans, um, it's not that he was prying into us, right? There's
Right.
something in him, I think, that could sense we wanted to be asked those questions. And maybe it's
Hmm.
a universal. Maybe everybody is dying to share the dreams that they're afraid to dream
Right.
or to actually give a voice to the thing that they're afraid of in this moment that's preventing them from being who they think they can be, you know? Um, but his presence and his openness, his non-judgmental acceptance of whatever your answer is in this moment, that's what I think allowed me to actually answer and to express and to cry in front of a grown man. And it's like
100%, dude.
that
Yeah.
kind of thing is what makes the difference. So like, how do you open that door to the individual who thinks they need unlimited deep tissue pressure? And for me, I
Mm.
think it's the intake. Like when
Yeah.
somebody comes into my office, one of the most common things that I get from people at the end of my 20-minute intake is this is the most anybody's talked to me before a massage. And I'm like, well, this is the most important part right here is
Right.
establishing this connection because from now on you're going to be, face down or your eyes are going to be closed. We're not going to have this kind of soul gazing opportunity. Um,
Right.
not to say that that's what everybody requires or is necessary or even indicated for every person, right? Some people have a wall and they don't want you looking beyond that. And like
Right.
respecting boundaries is obviously the most important thing.
Sure.
And I think as far as how to teach that or how to speak to that, I think it comes from experience mostly, is
Yeah.
like feeling your intuition will tell you like this person wants to be asked about that, or this person does not want us to talk about that or to look at that.
Right.
Like
Right.
they're here for, they want to connect on a different level. Um, but I think, yeah, the intake for me is is the biggest opportunity to invite that kind of presence. It's like, hey, let me show you how present I can be, just asking you how you're feeling today in this moment.
Right.
And depending on what they share, that kind of is sets the barometer for me. It's like, okay, this is what they're willing, this is how they're showing up, this is what they want this to go like.
Right.
Um, because then I know during the session, you know, if I get somebody who's super guarded, you know, let's say it's a blue collar construction worker guy and it's his back hurts and he just wants me to, like one literally said the other day, I don't want to feel like I got hit by a truck.
Yes.
He's like, you're a big guy. I think you can do it. And I'm
Yeah.
like, okay. Like, I'm just gonna ask again. Like, so just to confirm, like you're feeling like you've got a lot of tension or stress in your back. And he's like, oh yeah, it's effed up. And I'm like, okay, cool, man. So
Yeah.
this is the level of connection that he's open for. And it's tough with guys, I think, especially. I mostly run into this with
Yeah.
men, right? Is they want
100%.
to kind of play it off with humor, kind of dismiss that anything else might be going on. They don't want to admit to anything that might suggest fragility
Mm.
in their interpretation of like if I'm in pain or I have this emotional thing that's also super heavy. I don't want to admit that to a guy
Yeah.
because I want to lose that respect or lose this mini competition of who's the most alpha right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I can hold the pain. Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
It's
I've
like I know you
certainly,
can. You've been doing it for your whole life. Great.
exactly.
No
It's
one's
like I
gonna pat you
see.
on the back for this though.
Yeah. That's why you want to get hit by a train.
That's yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a natural desire.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
So
I'm
yeah,
glad you
then
brought
then
that
it's
up.
like how do we invite some gentleness into this person who's like what they're really saying is like I need to be handled violently, you know,
Mm,
or forcefully. I need this forced out of me. And it's like,
mm, mm.
how do I suggest in this session that we allow or get curious as opposed to more forcing, more pushing, you know?
Yeah.
And that can be tricky with that clientele. It's kind of my favorite thing to work with nowadays,
Yeah.
because it's such an interesting challenge for me to figure out like how can I be effective for this person, but also not get so outcome oriented myself that I'm just trying to please them. Because I have plenty of those clients that don't come back because they don't respond to what I'm doing. You know, they're not
Right.
open to it. And I'm like, hey, that's the nature of this game. Like, I'm here if you want to be
Yeah.
real. If you want to just have somebody beat you up for an hour, like, I didn't get into this to do manual labor. I'm done with
Right.
that. Like, I just
Yeah.
don't. Somebody comes in asking for the deepest pressure ever. I'm like, I want to share something about, you know, what is necessary for your physiology, and we'll go from there. Like, and if you're willing
Right.
to try what I want to do today, it's going to be much more gentle. It's going to be much more breathing and
Right.
much less pressure than you probably desire. But I think if you can stay present with it, you're going to feel better when you get up for longer than
Mm.
you would if I just beat you up, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. That is one of my favorite things right now. It's like you said earlier, bridging those worlds. We've got like old paradigm, almost like medical model, right? Where it's like, oh, you have a symptom, let's treat the symptom, not the root of what's actually going on. And people are coming in and it's like, oh, I have pain right here. I need your elbow to the bone, right?
To
Beat
the
me
bone.
up. Like you can't go deep enough. That's why I booked a man, you know? I've heard that many times. And yeah, and then it's like our job as therapists to like start that. It's not like prodding, it's just questioning and seeing, how open are they to the idea that, maybe more pressure doesn't equal more result. Or are they open to the idea that you may have pain here, but the problem probably isn't there. So is it okay if I work, here and some other places? I remember when that was almost uncomfortable at first, in certain spa settings when people are like, why aren't you working on the spot that hurts?
Hmm.
So I think a big part of being a present therapist too is recognizing our role as an educator. Because the layperson, I mean, if you really take the average American or just person in general that didn't go to school for anything in the physical or medical realm, like we don't know anything about the body. The
They don't
last
know
time
their
they
lasagna from their spaghetti from their hamstring.
That's right, exactly. They don't know any of that. And for people that weren't like, athletic or in sports, like the last time they had to be active was in high school,
Mm.
right? And and that, I mean, to me, that's crazy just because it's always been a part of my life and I'm very, body oriented. But recognizing that that's where a lot of our average customers are coming in, it's like, oh, it's not a problem with them. It's just I have to be comfortable and confident in my delivery of these questions. And it's really just like opening doors or showing them that there's a door here. Hey, I hear that you want to go through the pain door and you think that, your pain is only going to be overcome by more pain, you know. But do you notice there's a fork in the road here? And like maybe we could try going through the gentle door and just let's see how that path feels, right? And if we don't get any good results from that, we can go back to beating you up afterwards, like we'll just play with me for a minute. Let's see.
Yes. Yeah,
Uh,
and like I never avoid the symptom either. I
right.
know for myself, if my neck hurts, I know that it might be from like my pecs or from, something in my back, tensegrity, right? It could be anything,
Hmm.
honestly. It could be my big toe. I know you had something with that in college where it's like your shoulder was off because your toe was inflexible and somebody pointed it out.
100%.
You're like, what? Like these
Yeah.
things are actually connected. But it's like, yeah, I get that. But if my neck hurts, touch my neck. Like,
Yeah.
don't avoid it just because your clinical reasoning tells you it might be something else, right? And I know you're not saying
100%.
that. We both agree that, like, yeah, you want to address the thing because, like you said, most people that come in don't have this level of knowledge. They're not discerning between, what their shoulder is and what their humerus is, and like the structural delineations that we can make.
Hmm.
But they are going to feel what you're touching, and they might have decision fatigue, or knowledge fatigue. They don't want to learn something right now and have to decide what's best for them. When you're
Right.
asking, like, I know this thing is going on, but can I work this other place? Like, I'll tell them, like, we're gonna we're gonna do what we can to make this function better and feel better, and it might
Hmm.
involve more than just that thing. Like, I'm definitely gonna work that spot. Trust me, I'll get in there because I think
Hmm.
there's a real psychological benefit to just addressing what they think is going to be helpful. And I've definitely found that to be true. There's definitely research on this too, that just the therapeutic environment sometimes accounts for more than 50% of the outcome.
100%. 100%.
And again, bringing it back to presence, like how conducive to their bodily awareness is your environment? Like, is your space cluttered and super distracting? Is it loud outside? Like, is it quiet enough? Is the temperature okay? And then your quality of touch. Like, are you jarring? Are you jolting? Are you shaking because you're not confident in what you're doing? Or are you able to barely be there,
Hmm.
and just guide the awareness? Um, because yeah, for most people, it's like, yeah, we'll work on the thing that you came in for, but can we also open up some possibility in your mind that you might benefit from other things too? And it might not be
Right.
crazy deep pressure. Um, because yeah, like you mentioned, you can be, if we're doing like more like somatic based work, which is just helping people bring their attention to their felt sensations instead of their interpretations of those sensations. You can be 5 grams of pressure. Or
Right.
if we want to get really woo woo, my favorite
Yeah.
term these days,
Yeah.
it could be 0 grams. You can be
Right.
above the body in worlds like polarity or
Right.
Reiki or any number of words out there that signify energy work that is
Right.
not contact. It's like, yeah, if somebody's present enough, if you are giving them permission to feel whatever they can feel in this moment, you can just be in the room. I could be
Right.
sitting in my chair over there,
Right.
and they're on the table. I mean, I've had this before with like remote sessions
100%. Yeah.
where I've been so far only the recipient, but just being on the phone with somebody who's present with your energy. It's
Yeah.
like, how is this possible? And there's not a scientific basis for that as far as I'm concerned, but that's one of the big shifts in my life, and I think in yours too, of this like moving away from the assurance of the clinical medical model, or
Right.
scientific model for what's usable and uh, what's valuable as far as
Right.
a service to another person. And there might not be a basis for this as far as data that you can read and really believe in, but experientially, there's so much going on that I
Right.
think I'm way more open to now. Because I remember
Yeah.
learning in school about like polarity therapy and just going through the motions in school, being like, this is ridiculous. And then receiving it and being like, okay, what just happened?
Yeah.
Or reflexology, which I
Right.
just always sticks out in my mind because I did not enjoy it when we were
Right.
doing it. And then like a week after that part of the semester was over, when we were no longer getting like daily reflexology, I was like, what's happening to me? Like
Yeah.
I am craving something and I can't put my finger on it.
Right.
What was happening? And then I like it hit me. I was like, oh, I was getting reflexology. And it was like so uncomfortable to get it done to me. And now I realized like I was like, there was something going on there that I didn't realize was happening, that I was benefiting
Right.
from greatly. Like I was
Right.
going through this emotional discomfort. It wasn't physically, uncomfortable. It's just a little foot rub with some poking in particular spot. And and then later realizing like, man, there's this whole like energy system that's mapped out on the feet that comes from like 5,000 years of anecdotal evidence between the Thai and Asian and Japanese and like all these Chinese medicine, like all these different systems that are not Western scientific knowledge that have
Right.
mapped out these energy systems in the body and how we can influence and interact with them. And it's like, okay, so if that's a thing that's been around much longer than science in its current form,
Right. Right.
maybe there's some validity to these systems like Reiki and to energy
Right.
work that we
Right.
can't explain with our modern model, but have been
Yeah.
getting results for 5,000 years.
Right. Yeah. I would say for me, the biggest shift in my work has been opening to somatic therapy, energy work, and just coming with a total like childlike curiosity instead of the energy that I was meeting it with in school, which was like, show me the science, right? Like myofascial made total sense because we had a teacher who could tell you everything about every cell and what it was doing in the moment as you were touching it, right? And it was like, oh yeah, this makes sense. And there's research to back it up. But the energy work, I think for me, a barrier was the vulnerability when I wasn't really able to be that vulnerable and open with myself. And so having someone like be in there with you was a little uncomfortable at first for me. But I, you know, can't deny that there was just like a level of doubt altogether. I was in a science degree at the time. All my roommates at the time were very science oriented, and even trying to talk with my roommates about the experiences I was having in those classes, they'd be like, that sounds bullshit. That's not energy work isn't real. I can't believe they make you take that, you know? Like, uh, and yet I kept getting drawn to it. And I think I shared with you before, like I had a chronic low back pain that was, in my mind, it stemmed from herniating a couple discs from a heavy like deadlift. And I knew when it happened. I knew the day it happened. I even got a scan. I knew exactly, like I knew the feeling, I knew the sound, like I knew what happened in my body. But I still went the medical route to like see what it was. And they're like, yeah, L3 and 4 herniated. And I thought, oh, I'm screwed. You know, I'm not going to be, I'm not going to be able to lift anymore. I'm going to have chronic low back pain. And it was like flaring up to where, I'd go to pick up laundry and I'd fall over and couldn't stand for days, couldn't walk right. And nothing helped for more than temporary relief until I went to someone who did craniosacral therapy. And I went in skeptical and I'm just like, okay, again, I'm going to just give it a try. And she says, hey, is there anything that you want to focus on, like in particular, or do you want me to just read your body's energy and go where it wants me to go? And I thought, oh, that's how I'll really test this. They offered that. Great, yeah. I got nothing going on. Like, just
Didn't
read
even
my
tell her.
body. Didn't
Yeah.
tell her anything. There was no intake form other than like signing a waiver, a liability release, right? And you had to answer some question about like if you were on anti-inflammatory steroids because there's certain
The
moves that
basic
you can't
stuff.
do,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. And so I'm there, and she just like, has her hands on my feet, and she's feeling, and then she goes up to like the knees, and then the hips, and then she just like comes into like here, feels right here, and she's like, okay, and she's like, I know where I'm going, and then she puts a hand right underneath my low back, and then a hand on top, right on the right side, right at the right SI joint in like L3 and 4, and she's like, do you have pain in this area? And I'm like, yeah, sometimes. And she's like, okay. And she's like, I'm getting that like this has been here for a few years. And I'm like, yeah, I have like a chronic low back thing that flares up. And she's like, yeah. She's like, okay, let's just take a couple breaths. Let's be with this. And I think the first thing she asked me was like, what do you notice here? And I'm like, I don't know, it feels tight, She's like, yeah, yeah, okay. She's like, what does it feel like? Is there an emotional quality that you notice here? And I was like, kind of getting annoyed, where I'm like, what do you mean? Like, what does this mean? Like, what are you searching for? What do you know? And
Mhm.
I'm just like, oh, I don't know. And she's just like, okay. And she's like, well, what's your relationship to anger and frustration? And I was just like, okay. I'm like, I'm never angry. What are you talking about? And she's like, you're never angry, or you don't allow yourself to be angry. And like in that moment, I felt like my whole body just like seized up, and I was like, and like I had that moment, like I had in the interview with Jans, where it's like, you see me, like, oh shit, you saw through my armor, like, oh no. And then we just went into this whole unraveling where it was like, oh my gosh, I don't think I've ever been allowed to like fully express anger. And I had these like kind of fleeting memories kind of poking through, and she asked me to just feel into when did this start? And I was like, oh, I was young, I was a kid, and I was told not to be upset with my brother for breaking my Lego set or the daycare kids that my mom was watching. And I just realized in that moment, like, oh, I think I learned how to suppress anger to like keep the peace. And I learned, like, my child brain made this association that it was more mature to suppress anger and frustration. And then in that moment, I had this like whole, like, wow, like I have been carrying 1,000 elephants in my low back. And I like cried a little bit. I was shaking a little bit. Even talking about it right now, my body is kind of like buzzing a little bit. And my pain went away. And I was like, oh, this is bizarre. And it only ever surfaced again when I was suppressing anger. And so that was like the big, like, holy cow, like something is really going on here that I don't quite understand. And I started taking these courses. And to touch on somatic therapy, uh, I think you're invited to this Rosen Method round two, which I think you'll really dig if you're able to come to that. And like the first round of this class, they just sit you down and they're like, okay, we're operating on the belief that all someone needs to heal anything is presence and awareness, just those two things. And you're literally just like a lighthouse. And they could be like a single person stranded on a life raft in the middle of a crazy choppy ocean. And we're not sending a life raft out to them. We're not like trying to go into the mess with them. We're just there to like shine a light and like trace tension through the body. And can you be so present and aware with this tension and what it's doing that you could get out of your own head and just be like, oh, this feels like it might be connected to the calf. Trust it. Don't question it. Who cares? Just go there and feel. Does there feel like a connection there? And suddenly you might feel shifts in the tissue and that sort of thing. And so it's a almost a meditation for you as the practitioner to be like, how out of my mind and in my body can I be with this person? And that just invites them to do the same. And the changes that are seen and felt are just out of this world. And it's like, how do I quantify this? I don't know. But do we need to? Does it really matter?
Right.
Like,
And would it even make sense to quantify it or to write it down, I mean, what I think of is like we're not given an owner's manual when we're born, you know. And I mean, how helpful would that have been for you if someone
so
was like,
nice.
"Hey, just so you know, when you suppress anger, you're gonna have chronic lower back pain." Like,
Right.
so just chapter 4, remember line 3,
Yeah.
article 2? Yeah,
Yeah.
that's part of your manufacturer's stipulations on how to how to operate
Right.
safely.
Right.
Um, but in a way, that's like what we get to do with people. Like being that
Mhm.
lighthouse. It's like we're not writing it, we're letting them write it for themselves. We're just here to show you, hey, when you have this chronic neck and shoulder tension, right? And then you go
Mhm.
on vacation for 2 weeks and you come back and I ask you, how's your shoulders and neck? And they say, oh, actually it just started today when I got back from vacation.
Yeah.
Like the whole time I was there, it wasn't there. And I was like, huh. And were you sitting? And they're like, yeah, I was lounging on a beach, like sitting the whole time, went for some walks or whatever, but wasn't like crazy active. I wasn't stretching, wasn't doing any of the stuff that like we throw as remedies at people. It's like,
Mhm.
yeah, well, when it's based in your body and in your emotional body, when in your energetic, relationship to your feelings, then there's no amount of, myofascial or poking and prodding in deep tissue and corrective exercise and posture fixing vests that people wear. It's like, yeah, these are not
100%.
these are not going to be the solution for an issue like that. And there's
Yeah.
different ways. There are issues that are purely physical. Somebody tears their bicep tendon. I'm not going to tell them like, well, how do you feel about that? Like, not at this
Yeah.
stage. Like right now, we're gonna make this feel better after you've like gotten surgery to reattach your tendon and you've
Yeah.
done some rehab. Like now we
Right.
can start massaging and like influence the cellular environment. This is great. Give it like a couple weeks, maybe even after that, and then we can dive into like the psychological injury, the emotional injury. Like when you
Right.
mentioned you told yourself, "Oh, I'm broken now." It's like
Right.
that's the real injury. Like your body will take care of the physical part, but
Yes.
the injury that we do to ourselves is the one that sometimes we need help seeing. And I
Right.
think methods like Rosen or any number of unnamed somatic urban shaman work, you know,
Right.
which is just how can I how can I trust my intuition? Even if it's, like I've shared with you before, like I don't know if my intuition is right or wrong. It seems like the wrong tool of measurement to
Mm.
apply to something like intuition. Is it right or is it wrong? It's more like, is it strong or is it fleeting? You know,
Mm.
like I feel a connection here, but it's not making my bones vibrate the way that it does when I touch here and here. You know,
Right.
that's more my recipe for like maybe if I hold this, something will click for them. Like I don't
Right.
know. I'm not waiting for it to click for them either. They're not going to say anything probably this whole session that I'm doing this. I'm just
Right.
going to sit with this and let this buzz through my body until something tells me, all right, look
Right.
somewhere else, shine this light somewhere else. And in doing that, like I was starting off to say, we get to help them write the manual for their body.
Mhm.
It's like, yeah, when you are feeling the weight of your entire corporation, that is your neck and shoulder tension. And the reason it feels better after an hour is because you actually let yourself stop being in that role, in that position, and you allowed yourself just to receive. That is enormously healing. Just as these little reminders over and over again that, like, hey, this isn't just part of who you are. Like, there's a pattern
Right.
here that you can fall into, but you can also change that pattern. And like you and I
Right.
have both experienced over our lives, like countless times being reminded, you know, maybe we don't know everything.
100%. Yeah.
Maybe I don't have to be the healer or the people pleaser. Maybe I can just be the conduit, the guide.
Yeah. Maybe I can just be me.
How about
Right.
that?
How about that? Maybe that's the greatest role we ever play is just being yourself. Right. And it takes all the pressure off of the work. because you're not worried about the outcome, and then opens the door for remote healing, right? Because it's like I'm still able to be present with you right now. Yeah, I can't physically touch you, but like I feel you, right? So could that be healing? I think so. Right? And I think because we live in a society that has this like insatiable thirst for proof for everything, otherwise it's not real. Um, Even though, many studies are corrupt because it's like, well, who's paying for this study? Like, oh, interesting. Um, I think, yeah, we closed the door on a whole realm of possibility that could just be, I mean, let's just be curious about it and see what happens. Because I'd even challenge the idea that if a issue in the body is just purely physical. So one of the classes I took, they had one lens of looking at this is that, so I broke my wrist, my right wrist. I broke my right foot. I've broken my left wrist. And people have also mapped in the body where where typical energies are held in the body and what breaking or injuring certain parts might mean. And the idea is that, like, okay, let's say with my right foot being broken, right foot is all about direction in life, stepping forward in your power. And I, at the time of breaking this foot, was not aware of that at all. And I was just playing kickball with some friends uh, at 19. And sure, there was alcohol involved, but I was like running in the outfield and stepped in a divot in the ground that I couldn't see and just, snapped. And years and years later now, it's been over a decade now, it's been 14 years or so. I recognized that at that time, I was such in an internal battle of like, I do not really know where I'm going. I don't know what I want to do because I hadn't connected to that part of me. I was still going to school because my parents told me to, like get a degree, get a job, do follow the flow. And the idea is that like, okay, there was like a lack of energy flowing into my direction of life. And so that weakened that part of my body, making it more susceptible to an injury. And is that the reason that I broke it? No, I stepped into a hole and it broke. But maybe if I was, very confident in my direction in life and felt very connected in that way, maybe there would have been a little bit more sturdiness there, and maybe I would have been able to like fall more gracefully. Who knows? That's just one lens of looking at it. Because I certainly feel that way with my low back, where it's like, sure, I was weightlifting and I pulled a little too much weight off the floor, but there was a compromisation in that tissue that led to that pop in my mind.
Hmm.
And I have no way of proving it, but that makes my bones rattle more than just accepting that, like, oh, I probably shouldn't have gone for 425 when 415 was enough, you know, but it was 10 more pounds. And I thought, why not? Let's try it. But at the time, I was, deeply ungrounded, feeling very unstable in life, which is, very much low back. Um, And it was a time that I was having a lot of like sexual trauma stuff start to surface. And that also is kind of held in the hips and pelvis region in your sacral chakra, so to speak. So, yeah, I'm really curious to see where all this work goes as science can prove or maybe draw some more connections to that. But I really, really loved what you said about the intuition and like it's not that it's right or wrong. It's more like how strong is this hit that's coming through versus like, oh, that was just a fleeting, oh, maybe this. Oh no, it's not that. Do you think that's something we can teach people?
I think if there's if there's an opening for intuition to play more of a role in the decision-making process, which is not everybody, right? It's not like teaching the newest, myofascial assessment course. It's like
Mm,
that is going to appeal to people that know like they feel like they know there's a right way and a wrong way to assess or to interpret a result. Um, there's a positive or negative value for degrees of flexion or stretch or whatever. Intuition is just not something that's ever going to be cut and dry. You did the right thing or you didn't, right? Because
Hmm.
it's even in retrospect, you can say, like, oh, it must have been right because they got better, they feel better. It's like, yeah, but ask him again in 5 years. Like, what did this really open up for him? Maybe another
Mm.
layer that was much more harrowing to deal with on an emotional level. Ask him
Mm.
in the moment, are you still happy that somebody cracked this layer open with you? And then be like, hell no. Like suffering way more now. Ask him 5 years from that point, and they'll be like, yeah, I needed that.
Right.
5 more years. Oh, but this next layer, whew, makes the other things seem like
Yeah.
nothing.
Right.
So it's like it's the story of the Chinese farmer from, Zen Buddhism. It's like, yeah, maybe, you know,
Yeah.
this thing
Maybe.
happened. It's so beneficial, so fortunate. It's like maybe. And then a week later, oh, but it made this other thing happen. That sucks. It's like, well, maybe. Like we don't
Right.
really know. And that's, I think, the a deep fear in most people, which kind of shuts off intuition, is that we may never know why we're here or if we're doing the right thing. And
Mm.
that is, I think, the quiet desperation that most people endure and live with. Um, and intuition is kind of like the childlike spark of curiosity that flies in the face of that fear that says, you don't have to know. Like, what is this thing knowledge? What is this
Right.
these concrete facts that give you so much
Right.
comfort in the short
Right.
term? Like, what if what if there are no such things as like real, true, objective, epistemological or oncological, like what if we can't know? What
Right.
if this instrument, at least our mind, what if it's not tuned to the proper frequency to get ultimate truth in a
Mm.
tangible verbal communication as we would like it to be? To
Right.
write down my life philosophy on paper and be like, I've figured it out, the right way to live. Hallelujah.
Right.
Finally done it after 31 long years.
I did it.
It's only the 500th iteration so far, but this is the one.
This is the
It's
right one.
it's the truth. So that's the thing. It was a conversation I had at a wedding recently. So just in passing with a guy, we were talking about God and, why is there suffering? And he's like, it's a circular argument to ever get into those kind of conversations because you're not going to land on something other than what your brain can understand, which is limited by nature. Like we don't
Right.
hear all the sounds, we don't see all the colors that exist. We can't think or categorize all the information and data that's out there. Like we can't perceive it. So asking a
Right.
question like, what is the purpose of even something simple? What is the purpose of my pain? It's like we can throw darts and see what sticks. And like maybe something will shine a little light in a direction that will urge us to move in that direction, but it does not mean that we've found the reason for the pain. It's like the
Right.
reason today might be, yeah, suppression of fear. And then later it might be, trauma and then something else.
100%.
Like, so like what was really the purpose of the injury? It's like, well, all these things for the rest of your life will be unraveling from that point in your body, right?
Right.
And maybe there is a connection to the pain, and maybe there's not. Maybe there's not a something that you could write out. We can't see all the points that connect things and how that's connected to your
100%.
big toe and how that's connected to your first relationship and how that's going to be connected to your,
Right.
to your second kid or whatever.
Right.
Like
Yeah,
who
dude.
knows what's really happening. So like instead of being obsessed with like the right answer and needing that grounding truth, can we lean more into the curiosity, the intuition spectrum of strong or fleeting? And I think
Hmm.
that's maybe what will appeal to more people, but they have to be at the right stage, maybe in their career or their spiritual curiosity to be willing to let
100%.
go of assurance, to
Yeah.
to be able to navigate, these complexities of writing an owner's manual for your own body or helping somebody else write theirs. It's like we can't give assurances. We can't say that your
Right.
shoulder problem is this. Like,
Right.
one, it's not within our scope to tell anybody anything with any
100%.
insurer, right? We can be suggestive. We can say, well, it matches some of these common things, or like there's a pattern here that I think makes sense, and that's what I'm using to justify my treatment in this way. Um,
Right.
but when it's more on like the emotional or energetic level, it's like we're totally in the dark as far as concrete, you know, holds, handholds, or footholds to dig into and give to somebody and say, yes, it's because of the trauma. That's why your
Yeah.
neck is broken. It's like, well,
No,
my
truly.
intuition tells me there's a connection here. I can't tell you, like, my interpretation is not going to be valuable to that person of what the connection is, but I can tell them I feel strongly that there's a connection between this and this. What do you feel? You
Right.
know, and then that's
That's
like
always it.
the curiosity. Just let that come through in the work. Be curious instead of I need to be the pillar of truth for this person because they're desperately looking for help. It's like, yeah, we get those cases. We get those clients that are throwing their hands up. Like, I've tried the doctor, I've tried the functional medicine, I've tried the personal trainer, I've tried PT, and this thing is still going on. And it's
Right.
like, well, I'm not going to give you an answer. I'm going to give you more questions. And that's really what that
Right.
guy at the wedding kind of instilled in me, is like, instead of obsessing about like what is the purpose of suffering in the world, be more curious about the question itself. Be like, well, what is suffering? What makes me feel like I know what suffering is? And like,
Mm.
how can I ask more questions about that question instead of trying to land on something that is probably too complex for this little brain to really grok? Like,
Right.
oh, it's like there could be infinite connections forever about why there is suffering, or if it's allowed by a supreme being or not, or if this universe
Right.
is conscious or not. It's like, instead of just wanting that truth to hang your hat on, can we just be more curious about, like, well, then what next? If this is the
Right.
case, then what? If it's not the case, then what? Can I be more curious about that kind of thing, and why this knowledge must rule my decision making versus what about this tool that I was born with, this compass that's constantly operating that I've just forgotten how to tune myself to, the intuition.
100%. Wow. Wow, that was very profound.
It came out of nowhere, bro.
Wow. That, yeah, it felt like you were channeling something there. Um, mm, yeah, I think at this point, like, just how in the beginning of any clinical massage, when we first got licensed, you're thinking about the outcome. It can be the same with intuitive work and the energy work and all of that. And the key to being a solid therapist in any of those avenues is to be in that space of curiosity and just knowing that I won't know the truth. I don't need to know the truth. And who am I to tell this person what their truth is? Right? At most, I'm like asking a question of, does this feel true to you? Right? Because in my training with certain energy work techniques and modalities, it's not a recipe, it's not anything. It's all going back to how present can I be in my body? And can I glean anything from what they're feeling, what their face looks like, how the intonation of their words sound, like all these data points. And can I take that in and process it through my lens, see what it feels like to me, and pose it in a way that is just a suggestive curiosity instead of a like, oh, you were abused. Oh, it's this. Oh, it's that, right? Without defining their truth. And you're just leaving these little breadcrumbs. That's how you are the guide instead of the savior. And that's really like the work that has been most impactful for me is never like the cathartic, crazy moments or someone just being like, oh, you were sexually abused, so like this is painful and this is why, and you've wondered your whole life, and it's never that. It's always like, well, what does this feel like to you? Oh, it feels really sad here. Okay, can we let the ego like shut up for a minute and not have to define it or be like, well, why is this sad? Why am I holding sadness here? What does that mean? Where is this
Mm.
from? Right? Who gives a shit? The body holds on to so much of our experience all the time that like most of the time there's no memory attached to it. There's no story. It's just like, oh yeah, like the body's feeling this now. Can you allow it? Great. Oh, oh, the emotion just like moves through in 90 seconds. That's all? Oh, great. Oh, now you're done? Cool. Oh, you feel more relaxed now? Great. What's next? What are you noticing now? Now that we had a little cry, what are you noticing now? Oh, you feel more relaxed and open here, but this part of your body is tense now. Okay, what does that tension feel like to you? What does it look like? What does it sound like? What does it smell like? What does it taste like? Like you just ask these abstract questions to get you out of your thinking brain and into the body. And it's just a little treasure hunt. And I may have an idea in my mind of like, oh wow, if I get in my mind, I might be thinking like, oh, this part of the body holds this energy, and so it might be this, you know. But then I just remind myself, I'm like, okay, ego, like we're not solving this for them. They need to solve this for themselves. I'm just asking the prompts and helping like track the energy to feel like, is the tension moving or shifting in my experience? And then I'll ask them, how is it shifting for you? Is it shifting for you? Right? And in that, we're not defining anything for the person, and we're allowing them to come to their own discoveries. And that's really the beauty, right? And like you said, we do have people that come in and they're like, I've tried everything, just tell me what's wrong with me. But like, if I could know, if there was a way that I could, without, you know, a shadow of doubt, just put my hand on them and be like, okay, this is from when you were 5.5 and da 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 da, right? Like, is that really what they need? Not really. Like
Right.
most of the time, it's just I just need to be present with this part of me that I haven't been able to be present with, and can I feel what's here and let it flow?
Mhm. And,
Yeah,
and sometimes that's really just the beginning of the work too, right? Like
right.
it's not that because we think we have a different understanding of like the root cause of pain that we are fully capable of treating it, you know, like someone comes in like that person who just wants the answer and we offer them, you know, guidance and attention through their body and they discover that there is stuff going on and in their own, you know, mental constellation projection of their life they get to pick out the Libra and the, you know, the Scorpio. They can see the shapes in their constellation of events in their life. We can't see all that. So whatever they're drawn to, it's like they think they're feeling or expressing, oh, well, this happened when I was 5, and this happened when I was 12, and when I was 35, I met this person and they did this to me. We don't see all that. We don't have
Right.
a full picture. All we get is what I feel in this moment, which I don't know what it means.
Mhm.
It's stronger, it's, you know, weaker. It's not right or it's wrong. It's just this is what I feel. They're feeling something potentially totally different or way more there's way more nuance to their
Mm.
interpretation. Like you said, who knows about how well they can shut off their interpretation of their feelings. Um, but it's, you know, within the context of like staying in our scope of practice. It's like I'm not here to help you heal all this stuff by myself. Like, again, I'm a guide. I'm showing you that this is what's going on. And you have the responsibility to yourself to get the help that you need now. Like, if it's this direction, if you notice that you're feeling drawn to this type of work and you're getting way more benefit from just sitting with your feelings and having somebody hold the space and hold your hand as you feel what you're feeling, fantastic. You could also go to CBT therapy. You could go to somebody who's, you know, specialized in the story work. And there's a place like you and I know, we've worked at camps where there's, you know, a buffet of every type of person.
Yeah,
And every
right,
single person that we've worked with has benefited from working with like 6+ specialists at
right.
one time for different aspects of the same constellation because somebody's viewing it from the north or the south or the west. It's like everybody's got their view and their intuition, and it's just views up the
Hmm.
mountain. It's not like somebody who's just doing story work is getting it wrong, or someone who's just doing the medical model is getting it wrong. It's like, no, we're all looking at the same elephant We're all
100%.
blinded touching what we can feel and what we can sense based on our propensities and our development of our personal skills, right? I can feel stuff. That's my thing. Somebody else, they can
Hmm.
hear stuff. They can hear what you're really saying when you tell them that you're sad because this happened to
Right.
you. Somebody else can see your posture and be like, oh, you're holding it in your chest. Look at how you are. And it's like
Right.
they have these views, which are not correct. They're just all different. They have a
Right.
strong feeling that this is, they have a strong recognition of a pattern, and they're offering this as something else to navigate with. They're like,
Right.
maybe try from this angle. And like from our somatic angle, it's like, yeah, try just sitting and feeling it. See what that brings up. It might encourage you. You might suddenly feel like, man, I should really get into therapy, or I should really go back to PT. Maybe this is weak. Maybe it's not just that I need to sit with it. Because I love
Hmm.
every therapist loves imagining that they have discovered the panacea to everything, which was myofascial for me when I first learned it. I was like, oh, I'm not doing deep tissue ever again.
Right.
Like, this is the thing. This is what they really need. And that's like
Right.
something I'm always learning is how not to prescribe um, something to my client as they're telling me what's going on. Like they're coming in for deep tissue, and I'm like, you need Swedish. I try not
Hmm.
to do that. It's so tempting because of our expertise in our field to be like, oh, I know what's actually indicated for this individual. But to pump the brakes and be like, hey, they're communicating openly and clearly about what they want. And in a way, they're setting a boundary for what they want to. And like, I have to respect that that's where they're at. They want deep
Right.
tissue. I feel like they're going to benefit from something else. I can suggest, I can guide, but I'm not going to prescribe and say this is what you need. So if somebody comes in who's throwing their hands up, wants the answer, I'm not just going to give them the answer either.
Right.
There's a
Right.
little discernment there. It's like, well, maybe this is their pattern is that they look to others to do the work, and I have
Hmm.
to also be like, yeah, I respect what you're saying. I'm going to guide the same way I always do. I'm going to bring your awareness to things as best as I can, but I'm not here to fix this thing. I'm not the expert either. Like you might need something totally different. So worth
Right.
saying, I think at least.
Wow. Yeah, that's really beautiful. So at the end of the day, if we look at the idea that the body keeps the score, then we're just surveyors of the land, the landscape that is someone's body, and we're just picking up whatever we can and not defining it, but just like using that to help paint the picture. And like you said, at the camps that we've worked at together, yeah, someone approaches from the medical model, the psychological, psychology model, the body, sight, the words, all of this, and it's all different angles of looking at the thing that just helps us observe this. Well, it helps them observe
Reflect
themselves,
there, right?
right? And so we're just mirroring, right, the
Mm.
whole time. And I mean, that's done moment by moment while you're with someone's body too, when you're applying the pressure. And it's like, oh, oh, there was a little pushback here. So I'm going to, in real time, just come back just a little bit and then come in and see if I can work with that in a different way to where it's received, more received, I guess, or received well. Um, yeah. Wow. That would be really hard to teach in massage school because I
Well,
think
it's
there's so
beautiful
many
because
layers.
I mean, but really we're just giving them the power, like by
Right.
being those mirrors, right? We're just reflecting pools. It's like, yeah, from this angle, it looks like childhood trauma. From this
Hmm.
angle, it looks like this injury. From this angle, it looks like you're not feeling your feelings. From this angle, it looks like suppression of your feelings. All
Hmm.
just different views of the mountain. And somebody's like, I don't know who's right. Like I've gone to 5 different people now, or 10 different people, or 50
Right.
over my lifetime, and everybody tells me that my pain is from something else. It's like, well, you have a huge advantage here that none of us have. You are the mountain. You are the
Right.
elephant in the room that we're all touching. Like
Right.
if you can develop your own awareness, you can feel your way through this layer by layer over time, maybe not in one huge psychedelic meditation induced experience, but
Right.
maybe that too. But also, this is a skill over time. It's not just for healers. Like
Right.
intuition is a human capability that can be developed
100%.
by everybody. And so, how can we give our clients more power? I think is the real question with like presence to bring it back to what we started with. It's like,
Yeah.
what makes it the most effective? Presence.
Yeah.
mirroring what presence looks like and feels like, so that maybe my overarching goal is to get this person to not ever need what I offer. It's like I want you to be as present with yourself as I can be with you in this moment. I can never be as present as you can be in your own body. I can have my consciousness in your muscle or over here, but you are
Yeah.
present with your entire history, your entire dreamscape of the future, your whole somatic and energetic sense of this moment and your connection to the universe, like whatever's flowing through you with the unique recipe of vibrations and currents that stimulate your atoms to be what they are. It's like, yeah,
Right.
you get to be that. I just get to feel the reverberation. I get to feel the ambient heat from your campfire. And I can reflect it from here. Someone else can do it from there. But like you have the responsibility and the opportunity to learn how to feel what's up with you, you know?
Mm. Oh, that's so good. Yeah. And that's embodiment, right? That's being present. That's being aware. That's all the things. And that is why I feel so confident in the work that we do being something that, for one, AI could never replace. I mean, we've all sat in a massage chair, right? And massage chairs are not just, they're not designed for people that are our height or width. Like it just doesn't work out, right? But like AI and computer, like anything computer, is not going to help you feel your experience more. It can't make you feel anything, just as I can't make someone feel anything. They choose to feel a certain way. Or I'm just guiding them to what I notice and seeing if they can be more present with it and noticing that. But a couple episodes ago, well, I guess it was my, yeah, second episode. I was chatting with a good friend of mine, and she says that she believes embodiment is the currency of the future. And, one way of looking at this current, boom in AI is it's almost like outsourcing our intuition to a computer program that's, I
100%.
don't have to think about anything. I can just ask ChatGPT or whatever Gemini or whatever AI model you're using. And it's like, wow, we can't really do that with the body though. Sure, we might be able to create an AI model that like walks you through some talk therapy scripts and helps you discover things about yourself, but like AI isn't going to make you feel in your body. That has to be done within. That is you. And that is, in my mind, like the human experience. We're here to feel, in my opinion. And so,
Yeah,
yeah,
I
I
mean,
think
I think there's like a responsible use case for things like AI, but it's in the same category as like the daily horoscope. It's like,
yeah,
yeah, you can reflect, like I could have 10 people read the daily horoscope and they're all Libras, let's say, and they read the thing for the day and they're like, it's exactly what's going on with me. Like my boss just did this thing, my girlfriend just did that thing, or whatever, and they're like, this makes total sense. They're looking at themselves in a different way now, or interpreting their life and the events that have happened in a different from a different perspective that might offer some insight as far as where to go next, right? But it's not doing any actual work. It's not
Mhm.
doing the like, oh yeah, it says you might have some, you know, emotional upheaval because somebody in your life is going to do this thing. Whatever. I don't know what horoscopes typically say,
Sure,
but
yeah,
sure it's along those lines from my memory.
yeah,
And it's not going to get you to draw the, I mean, it might get you to draw that connection between things that maybe you didn't suspect or weren't curious about, but it's not going to take you to the next layer, which is, okay, now what does that feel like? How does that echo through your being? What is that vibration? What's the frequency here? Like, what is
right,
this? What's shifting in you now that you have this curiosity about this feeling or this emotion? And
right,
AI can be the same thing. It's like people, for sure. Why am I feeling this? What is this feeling? Why am I
yeah,
sad? How do I get not sad? And
yeah,
it's gonna give you the garbage disposal puree of the internet's answer, which is like any number of things from all of talk therapy and all of the
yeah,
good
yeah,
solutions out there,
exactly.
and then the bottom of the gutter of Reddit to tell you that this
Yeah,
is all garbage and a simulation. You
yeah.
know?
It's gonna be like, oh, what an intuitive thought you had. It
Yeah.
sounds like you're probably depressed. You need SSRIs. It's like,
It'll say any
Okay.
number of things,
Yeah.
but it does have the advantage of having some great popular opinion in there too. So it
Right.
might say like, oh, typically when people feel this in response to this kind of thing, there's an underlying connection between this and that. And that might
Right.
be what somebody gets from their horoscope or from a natal chart reading or, an energy healing with a Reiki practitioner. Who knows? Like they're going to give
Right.
you what they see, this reflection of what you're sharing, right? But
Right.
that's only ever going to be the surface because then
Just more
you have,
data.
it's more
Right.
data. Yeah. And people get, what is it? Uh, Decision. It's like, they don't take action. They're just over analyzing. Paralyzation
Yeah.
by over analyzation. That's what it is. So
Yeah.
they just need more data points to make the decision. And it's like eventually you're just gonna have to feel the thing instead of
Right.
confirming why it's there.
Right.
Like you said earlier, people want the story first because it gives them like a foothold or some kind of safety that gives them some parameters. It's not just the free fall of the emotional abyss.
Right.
It's like you just want me to feel this thing without knowing where it's going or what it is or
Yeah.
why. Like,
Yeah,
yeah, and then
we need the justification. Why is
yeah,
this even here? What is it doing here? How long has it been here? And it's like, ugh,
or
throw it
to
out.
feel it in order to feel better. I think that's like a very sneaky hiccup for a lot of people is like, okay, well, I'll do the work, I'll feel this feeling in order to then fix myself and feel better. And it's like, that's not surrender. That's
Right.
bartering. That's we're trying to make a deal. We can't do that with our feelings. I'll feel you as long as you promise to get out of my body when I'm done.
Right.
I'll give you 90 seconds and
Yeah.
then we're done, right? Otherwise,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna give myself over fully. I'm not gonna surrender to that feeling unless it's unavoidable. If it's truly this is who I am now. I have this feeling, you know.
Right.
And I think that's again sometimes within the scope of what we do. It's like if you are struggling with like crazy dark feelings and ideas about life, then maybe you do need someone there with you to like walk you through how to surrender to a feeling without letting it
Right.
be interpreted as this feeling is a uh, reflection of the value of your life or of you as a person, which can be so
Hmm.
easy to do. It's like, I feel like a piece of shit. I must be a piece of shit. I'm going to let myself feel like a piece of shit. And then that just
Right.
spirals into I guess I shouldn't be here anymore. That kind of
Right.
thing. Like, this is not the type of feeling that we're talking about. Like,
Right.
immediately, that's an interpretation of the feeling as
Right.
it signifies some other thing. It's like, what if the feeling is just the feeling? What
Hmm.
if that's the totality of its existence? Is it is just this thing that you get to
Right.
sense and feel and be aware of? Your interpretation and your skill at discerning what kind of sense to make out of it or how to apply it to your life, that is not what we're talking about. Like that's all
Right.
ego, that's all mind, that's all your processing, cognitive behavioral ability, right? It's like being able to distinguish a feeling from a story about a feeling. And that's
Mm.
again a skill that needs to be practiced, which we don't do because of things like ChatGPT and Instagram and constant distraction and instant gratification. We can't sit with something long enough without getting something out of it. It's like if I'm
Yeah.
gonna, it's even hard to for some people to read a book now because they're like, I want to just to get to the thing. On Instagram, it's 3 seconds in, and we've got to
Right.
the good stuff. The guy the guy slips and falls, and it's funny. And then the next thing, oh, it's a cute. It's immediately a cute cat. Like this is
Yeah.
great. Then you read a book, and it's like Sam was 5 years old, and he left the house, and then he saw the sky, and there was a fence nearby. It's like, what are we doing as this baby,
Snooze.
right? With
Get
like
to the
in
point. Get to the point.
Exactly. And it can be like that with our feelings too. It's like, oh, I've had this
Yeah.
feeling since I was 12 and I don't know what it is, but it's always been here. And it's like
Yeah.
it's boring almost. It's like I don't want to go sit with this thing that's always here. It's like, well, it sounds like you've never actually been with it. It sounds like you've
Yeah.
been like trying to compromise with it your entire life,
Right. You've been
like,
wishing
oh,
it was gone, but
I
have
don't
you
have to
sat
feel
down
it.
to tea? Right.
If I go do this other thing, I don't have to feel this thing. If I achieve something in life, and this is like common with overachievers in life, is like they are often very resistant to what they're actually feeling. It's
Mm.
great fuel to success, to the attainment of like the popular idea of success. Um, because they have this thing. It's like, oh, if I just distract myself, I get a little feel good. And if that little feel good is equated with being successful, starting a business, growing the business, expanding the business, and then da, 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 da. It's like, great. We've worked with plenty of super high achievers that have like very disorganized or dysfunctional emotional capabilities,
Mm-hmm.
feeling capabilities. Like they don't know how to feel the impact of
Yeah.
what they've actually done. It's like, oh, I just
Right.
sold my business for $4 million. I don't know. I feel like kind of bummed, kind of
Yeah.
bored. Like
Yeah.
you're you have like all the means in the world now to do whatever you could ever dream of. And they're just
Right.
like, yeah, I kind of want to watch Netflix now and feel kind of the
Yeah.
same as I always did. It's like, interesting. Interesting.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not always about just succeeding and getting the next thing, but like what do we actually feel from that? Can we sit with the things that we do? Can we have a little more intention with everything that we do? And I mean, this is kind of in the weeds now, but it's what eventually happens, I think, from developing that kind of emotional intelligence or somatic wisdom is like being able to embody every little thing. And then suddenly we don't need these huge, glamorous achievements to feel satisfied or to feel good because we can actually feel the little things. We can feel
Right.
the coffee or the touch of our partner. And it's like,
Right.
wow, life is a rich sensory experience. And if we're here to feel, what am I doing chasing these? Like, I mean, yeah, you can have goals, but when they're exceedingly lofty and never ending, that's when you have to
Yeah.
kind of start questioning, like, am I just further distracting myself from some sense of inadequacy? And like, what's the
Mm.
feeling? What's the feeling underneath that? Have I worked with that? Have I sat with that long enough for this minute long reel that is my emotional state? Can I
Yeah.
can I sit with it to see it change and do something else? You
Right.
know?
Wow, we've been cooking, dude. Are there any other topics or anything you'd like to pontificate on before we wrap up?
Oh man. I think I think we've kind of touched on and probably illustrated what makes us a little different.
Yeah.
Um, just in our approach. But I mean, it's certainly not just us, but in this brand of therapists that's offering, intuitive or energy work. I mean, there's plenty of intuitive therapists out there that might be very earnest in their approach, but then also lack maybe, I think, this other side of the equation, which is like the physiological background, or
Mm.
just technique. It's certainly there. I think there has to be like your doctor, you want them to have a strong foundation in the skills necessary for the job. If they're
Hmm.
going to stitch something up, I hope they've practiced stitching
Right.
hundreds of hours, not just hundreds of times, hundreds of hours, please, before you
Yeah.
approach. Because what if you're doing that stitch on my heart, you know?
Right.
And I think when it comes to like intuitive body work, maybe there's some a rare few out there that are just born into beautiful presence in their touch and the flow and the rhythm of their movements. There's definitely some out there that brand themselves as intuitive, and it's chaos. It's like they have
Yes.
so much of their own feeling that is like jittery and anxious and all over the place, and like maybe they are getting snippets of what's going on with me, but when they're jarring my system, and jolt, like, just I've had negative experiences with intuitive therapists. I think there is something to look for in an intuitive therapist, and that is, do they seem to have a background in like the foundational skills of body work first and
Right.
foremost. Hope that the intuition is something that is like developed through experience and not just someone that assumes they're great at working with people because they have strong feelings. It's like
Right.
there's a distinction between what we do being informed by science firsthand. I think that's what has made us unique, is like coming from that side of the world. Like getting really good at like Swedish and deep tissue and the flow, like that set us apart first. And I think this has amplified our skills as opposed to replace them with something entirely different. It's like, yeah,
Right.
now my Swedish can be super intentional and it feels that much better because I'm focusing on you know, these intricate sensations because my own somatic sense has improved as I've practiced.
Right.
And that's something that I look for in like a good therapist. Or if I'm going to recommend somebody to somebody else, I'm like, well, this person's either very intuitive or this person has like great touch. I'm probably going to send them to the person with great touch as opposed
Right.
to this person's super intuitive and interesting in their interpretations. It's like that it has a place, but I think you kind of get what I'm saying. I haven't really thought about
100%.
it too much, but it's something I just thought of is like I like when
Yeah,
people combine them.
I agree. Yeah, because I've certainly searched, especially when I started like adding that language into my marketing or on my website about like intuitive work. I had to kind of figure out what that means to me. And so I started Googling and just searching for therapists that use that same verbiage. And, I used to hold the belief too that like if someone's been a therapist for a long time, they must be good because they're still in, right? And day one at the first spa I ever worked at, I did a couples massage with a woman who's been licensed for 25 years. And in Utah, they don't require continuing ed. And I asked her what continuing ed was most impactful for her. And she's like, we don't have to take continuing ed. And I was like, you've never taken a class in 25 years? And she's like, no, we don't need to. And then I watched her massage and I was like, oh, yeah, it shows. Like, horrible. I don't even have to receive it to realize that, like, this person is just going through the motions, right? And so I've looked for therapists that call themselves intuitive therapists, and there's been a few where I'm just like, okay, they've been in business for 15 years. They're an intuitive therapist. They have all these different, energy work and body work modalities listed, but I just don't feel it. It's like I don't feel that they're present with me. I don't feel like they're confident in what they're doing. Um, and it just doesn't hit the same as someone who, maybe they've only been licensed for a year, but like you can feel that they're there with you. Their technique is smooth. They're not thinking about what they're doing. And maybe the layperson doesn't really think of it in that way, but I think if you just opened your awareness to it, you would be able to pick up on those things with someone just in how they're talking to you in the intake. Do they do an intake? What sort of information are they presenting with you afterwards? Um, yeah. So I think the golden goose here, and what I think you and I have really stepped into beautifully is bridging those worlds because there's validity to all of it, and the more, not saying that you have to collect every certification to be a good therapist, but the more lenses that you're open to exploring the body through, it's just, again, more information to help mirror their experience back to them, giving them a more comprehensive experience overall, I think. And that, in my mind, is what an intuitive therapist is. And my lens, my category of lenses is going to be different than yours. Just naturally what I'm drawn to, what you're drawn to. I mean, we both started with very similar educations, and now over the last decade, we've still like fallen into very similar things. But again, it's like my life experiences, the lenses that I see the world through, the things that have, happened in my life, all have shaped how I am able to be with a client, just as it has for you. Um, and yet, if we had to label it, that I guess is my beef with marketing something that does feel like art, that is just you expressing yourself. Uh, is that we're kind of forcing it into this 3D business model of like, okay, you're competing against all these other therapists, so you got to like get your marketing right and this and that. And so like, how do you describe what it is you do when really the best way to know what we do is to feel it and experience it. Um, so
Yeah, I
I
mean,
think,
I think as far as that goes, like just to highlight our skill set, it's not our modalities. Um,
right.
it is the skill of reflecting. And
Yeah.
that's really, I think, what sets apart the intuitive therapist. It's like how adept are they at reflecting an experience back to somebody. And it doesn't matter. Like they could have one certification, they could be a jack of all CEUs. Doesn't really
Hmm.
matter. because it comes down to like, well, what do I feel when I'm in the room? Like you're not going to get that from reading stuff about them,
Hmm.
reading their bio or their website or whatever. It's like,
Right.
yeah, you've got to be with them and you'll know as soon as you walk in. At least in my what I try to do here is like I want them to feel as soon as they arrive that like I am reflecting and I am curious and I'm open to what they're here to share. And that's just going to improve the opportunities for them to heal and to feel, this experience more fully. Um, but I think that's the trick with conveying to the public what we do as far as, calling it marketing, or to me, it's just like, how do I communicate what I'm actually offering? Just so
Right.
people know I'm out here because I don't see it as I'm competing with, I have a therapist in my building that I'm not competing. I don't feel any competition with because I'm like, we are individuals. We all
Yes.
offer this unique lens and we're all a different surface of reflection. We're going to see different things and people are going to feel different things from our energy. Some nervous systems just don't work together. That's fine.
Hmm.
Like
Yeah.
like that, I'm not trying to make everybody happy. I'm just trying to provide the opportunity for the people that are drawn to me. There's a magnetism that brings people together, I think, which is not a
Yeah.
scientific basis idea that I have, but it's seems to be my life experience. Is like, yeah, the people that benefit from my work and respond to it are drawn to me naturally, and they tell other people. And that's provided more, you know, business to me than any other avenue of marketing or advertising or whatever. It's like just being present and showing people what I do, and trying to describe it in a way that feels true and authentic and not, fix your back pain today. It's
Right.
like
Right.
plenty of people out there that are making claims to do things that who knows if it's possible or not. But like me saying
Right.
that I can reflect your experience back to you, and you might not even know that's what's happening. Like you might just get up and feel better and rejuvenated and relaxed. It's like, yeah, well, that was in you. You know, after an hour or 2 hours on the table, it's like that's the experience that I'm showing back to you that you can feel this way, or that you
Right.
do feel some part of you feels I feel relaxed, how does your session? I feel great.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, I love that collaboration, not competition. No one can do what I do because I'm me. I can't
Yeah,
do what you do. That's just, yeah. And there's beauty in that, definitely.
word,
All
dude.
right. Yeah, wow.
A
That
long
was
30
really,
minutes.
yeah, that was great. Um, wow, thanks for being here, dude. We'll definitely have to do this again, and who knows what we'll get into next time. I really enjoyed the flow of this, though. So,
Yeah, that was fun. I didn't see where it was going, and then it ended up here, and I'm like, wow, that was that was beautiful. Great chatting with you, man.
David Smith, everyone, thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you on the next episode.